Salvatore Tufano, who will speak us about Thucydides and the ethnographical tradition, a survey of the quotes from Thucydides in Stephanus of Byzantium. So, thank you very much.
So, first of all, let me thank the organizers for this opportunity and for the kind help and assistance all throughout these days. This is a long paper, perhaps, so I will try to offer a selection of my original arguments, and hopefully you will forgive me if I bore you too much. So, both the authors concerned in the title, Thucydides and Stephanus, have been scholarly lucky in recent years. Stephanus finally received better recognition thanks to the efforts of Margaret Wienerbeck and their team. Thucydides, on the other hand, has been the subject of three important papers released in 2006, 2014, and 2017, which are a nice starting point for an updated view on the most important tenets of his reception as a historian, as a strategist, and as a political thinker too. My research, however, is concerned with another aspect of his legacy and his reception, namely his reception as an ethnographer, where by ethnographer I mean the use of the ethnographical information contained in the histories in late antiquity. In fact, in all these periods, Thucydides was studied for his reception in early Byzantine historiography, for the subjects of his work, and for the stylistic of these. What I'm more interested in is the stylistic reception, namely how much he was considered an author to follow whenever you might want to write in prose, not only history. So my paper answers, or tries to answer actually, 5 things. The first of which is applying to this comparison, namely the reception of Thucydides in Stephanus, the studies by Douglas Olson, L'Enfant, and Anvaglio on the reception of complete authors in literature. Second, seeing what led Stephanus to quote Thucydides on a number of occasions. Third, how is Thucydides quoted, namely the strategies which are used by Stephanus to use. Sorry for the repetition, Thucydides. Fourth, trying to see whether this investigation may shed some light on the textual tradition of these texts. And fifth, and here I come to the title of our panel, trying to see from this point of view what kind of intermediary Stephanus was, because we all know as scholars or as readers of fragmentary historians how important Stephanus' use is for authors who are only fragmentary, but perhaps an investigation with an author who we can all read may indirectly teach us something. So, two cautious remarks which need to be anticipated. I am completely aware, of course, of the complex tradition of Stephanus, of the epitome, and of the fact that, in fact, there was more than one epitomizer of the original work. And as you can see, for instance, on your handout, point 2a, where we can read the complete original lemma of the Ethnographical, in contrast with the version transmitted by the codices of Stephanus, we are aware of the vast distance which exists between the epitome and the original Ethnographical. And I am also aware that, of course, it is normal to read the name of Thucydides in connection with small cities and populations in a work which is a list of small cities and populations. However, it is still important to see why Thucydides is present with, say, 66 passages in the Ethnographical, rather than another number of authors who possibly touch this topic. So, I would like to start with some observations on the methodology which I followed. First of all, the very definition of quote. So all the authors which I mentioned before, namely L'Enfant, Anvaglio, Douglas redefine the very notion of quote and fragment. For instance, I believe that this idea of the quote as a static needs to be remolded and redefined in accordance with the characteristics of the material. To say it in more imperial terms, when we take, for instance, passage 1a on your handout, so this is not a very long passage, of course. This is a very short lemma of the Thucydides, but in the extant literature, this Thracian population is only mentioned by Thucydides. So I believe that this is a case where we can talk about a proper quote and not just as a reference to Thucydides, but I will return to this terminological aspect. So what inspired me in the definition of the Thucydidean repertoire, which I used to study the reception of Thucydides in Stephanus. First of all, I only focused on those passages, I said the number 66, where the name of Thucydides is preserved and where positive identification of the original passage in the histories can be found. So, for instance, I have not considered passages such as 2b on your handout, where we have the name of Thucydides, but it is really hard to find in the histories a reference to the document present in the Ethnographical of Stephanus. So, which is why between brackets you use those 3x. And second point of the definition of the repertory, I tried also to see why Thucydides is always mentioned with specific ethnic forms. To say better, we are talking about an older Stephanus or possibly between the 5th and the 6th century AD. His closest predecessor, which doesn't mean his only predecessor, was Horace, a lexicographer active almost a century before, who had written a treatise on ethnography and a treatise on lexicography. Whately, in the recent companion of the Oxford Companion to Thucydides, has just inferred and suggested that Thucydides had become a stylistic guide, as I already said. But no scholar has ever investigated how much Thucydides was practically, in real terms, used as a companion, as a suggestion, as a repertory of examples, write like this, not like that. So Stephanus is the fullest source for this aspect of the scholastic reception of Thucydides, which also means that despite the ephemeral nature of the Epica, we have reasons to believe that the degree of reliability is to be expected in this work. So before coming to the real corpus of my paper, namely to the 3 sets of examples which I selected, I need to clarify what kind of sets are these ones. So, as I was saying, I don't think that we can easily use terms such as quotes, or if you prefer other modern languages, frammento, tradizione, and abstract, when we're talking about ancient authors. We need to be completely aware of the characteristics of the intermediary, and this is one of the reasons why I believe that this panel is particularly important to reopen series of questions. So, I think that in connection with the use of Thucydides by Stephanus, we can find 3 kinds of uses of Thucydides, which I hope, this is just a suggestion of course, and as a non-mother tongue, possibly it needs to be revised. Quotes, narratives, and lemma. By quotes, I find all those passages which present literal records of Thucydides, and all those passages where, as in the case of the Thucydides, which I just mentioned, we can be 99% that Thucydides had been possibly the only author who had touched upon the subject. Of course, I am aware of the tantalizing amount of the lost literature, especially of historiography and geography. But on the other hand, to say just one name, the authors which I know better, how are the possibilities that, say, Aristophanes mentioned a minor Thracian population, his mention would have been as famous as mentioned by an author, Thucydides, who was possibly known by heart at this stage. Second class of references, narratives. By narratives, I define all those passages which present a paraphrase or a summary of the relevant paragraph or chapter in Thucydides. These passages are particularly hard to recognize, and I believe that they can be considered in the corpus only when we have the name of Thucydides. For the same reason which I just referred to, say, when we can be sure, for instance, that Stephanus describes a certain place in Sicily, and the same words, almost the same words, and the same strategic position is underlined by Thucydides, and Stephanus says, so says Thucydides, this is a narrative. But when it talks about an Asian city, and perhaps that city has been the subject of more than a paraphrase, of more than a historiographical work, I would be a little more prudent, cautious in adding this passage to the corpus of narratives. Finally, lemata. This is perhaps a little harder to describe. By lemata, I define all these passages which just focus on a very short word, being a negative, a name, a variant, or an adjective, and these are a very rich list of words which Stephanus offers to us. And finally, as a scholar of ancient literature, I know that rewriting critical editions is always dangerous. So I hope you forgive me for any typos. The critical editions I used were those by Alberti for Thucydides, which I compared, of course, with OCT, and those by Biederberg for Stephanus. The apparatus criticus which you see on certain instances below the passages is a selective apparatus. Namely, I only reproduce the apparatus where it concerns the passages and the words I'm speaking about, or where it is really relevant. I know this may look a little dishonest, but I hope you forgive me, because otherwise we will talk about just one passage for more than 30 minutes. So, starting with the first set of examples which I have selected. Quote, passage 4a. Stephanus of Byzantium talks about this area in Thrace, Rabescus. And as you can see from the apparatus scriptures, the accent cannot be doubted on the ground of the textual tradition. These four codices, RUPN, are the four best codices preserved for the Ethnographical, and all the other ones which are preserved for this text are either descriptive or are not complete for all the words of the Ethnographical. On the other hand, the corresponding passage in Thucydides, as you can see, preserves the same accent, drabesco, so for A on the right, but editors tended to correct the accent of this toponym. On which ground? Well, as you can see, I just copied the apparatus print, referring to Stephanus of Byzantium, but Stephanus of Byzantium and never used that accent, because that is a correction by Meineke. And Meineke based his correction on just one passage, which is below the comparanda on the right, a suggestion by Herodianus. All the other ancient sources which talk about this place in Thrace offer an accent on the penultimate. It is so in Strabo, it is so in Pausanias, despite the curious choice by the editor to change an unanimous tradition, and it is so in Appian. It might be the same also in the very curious Drabescon in Diodorus. We were talking about this with Ilaria the other day. The problem with Diodorus is that the critical editions are always a little hard to follow. So what I could do in this case, I just checked a few manuscripts where it was possible to read them. And for instance, on the important Parisinius Parisinianus 149, the accent is the same as in Stephanus. So what I want to point out with this minor discussion about the accent of a word is that we need to be careful when we want to correct Stephanus with Thucydides, because the other reason, the other landmark of the word, namely that Stephanus possibly had already a very good text of Thucydides, and so he might be the guy to correct or read better Thucydides. Another positive example in this direction is another toponym, Gahia, where instead all the codices of Thucydides had the wrong form. So in this case, Stephanus possibly used, I will return to the conclusion of how Stephanus reached Thucydides, used a version of the text of Thucydides with a better form of the document. On the other hand, there are instances where Thucydides has been corrected with Stephanus despite the textual tradition of Stephanus, which is not so straightforward. It is so with the Apodote passage 4c. So as you can see, Apodote in the critical edition by Byzantium is a correction because all the main witnesses and Apodote, which, as you can see from the following part of the lemma, is very clearly possibly modeled of the parallel of the Bodytoy. The same population has been mentioned by Thucydides, so says Stephanus, which, as you can see, has a very good form of the passage, with the form Apodotes. And as you can see in the apparatus criticus to Thucydides, Stephanus of Byzantium has been quoted with a reconstructed form, and all the witnesses to Thucydides have a different accent. So in this case, Thucydides was corrected with a form in Stephanus which has not one, but two mistakes, namely the consonant, because Stephanus had possibly already used the wrong form of the consonant, and the accent, because it is clear that Stephanus, namely the epitomizers, had possibly followed the parallel center of the Bodytoy. Another curious example in this dangerous use of Stephanus to correct Thucydides comes from passage 4d. I'm talking about the second direct quote of Thucydides from Book 2. So this is a very curious passage. As you can see, it's underlined. It's the second underlined passage of Stephanus. Variontes or Graike Calumene. So all the manuscripts of Stephanus offer the form Graike, which is why I cannot reproduce this fact. On the other hand, the manuscripts of Thucydides, as you can see 2.3, have Pereike. For a long time, this form has been corrected, because some scholars, namely, for instance, Niese, in his important article on the reception of Thucydides and Stephanus, thought that Pereike is a very curious, rare word. It might mean something like a coast part of the land, and they believed that it was better to accept Stephanus, because we are in the ocean in this passage, in this context, so it appeared it might be a reference to the Homeric Gahia. But a recent tendency, which is represented, for instance, by the scholars which I added, Jowett, Lewis, Hornblower, and very importantly, Fantasien, very good commentary on this passage, that claim that Pereike, despite creating some problems with its rarity, can be accepted. Graike really looks like a lectio facilior in this instance, and possibly could not be understood anymore. Stephanus, so, might have corrected, if not Stephanus, possibly the miser, a form which already looked too curious, too, let's say, peculiar in his times. So, just to summarize what I just said, there are some instances where Thucydides is to be corrected with Stephanus, And the opposite case works too. There are some other instances where Thucydides cannot be corrected with Stephanus. So, as you can see, the situation is not so straightforward, because there are also other instances where the correction provided, or better, the variant provided by Stephanus, is not so better or worse than Thucydides. As you can see, for instance, in passage E, this variant on Anaitas is not so far from the variant in Thucydides, and the tradition in Thucydides allows possibly for a confusion for these ethnic. And this range of examples shows that possibly Stephanus had, when using these passages, a critical commitment. So there are some instances where he follows from close distance his Thucydides, some other instances where he might have corrected already. Just to conclude this first section with a possibly a bit complicated passage. So, passage 4G. In this case, I still believe that Meineke offers a better edition than Biederbeck for the single lemma that after E of Thucydides. So, as you can see, Os Thucydides is not originally present in this lemma. And Meineke moved it from the following lemma, which we are going to read later, to here, because as you can see, I just printed Thucydides on the right. It is really hard not to accept a quote here with the very same words that Thucydides. The tradition is not so straightforward. There are minor variations, for instance, Keronesos on some manuscripts, and Tostenotto is more on the Neapolitanus, which however has a bit of a complicated history, but I cannot talk about Neapolitanus now. So, as you can see, in this instance, a quote can be re-established, which means that whenever we study Stephanus nowadays, the situation is complicated by the fact that we have a critical edition which can be followed, and it's not used, of course, in all the databases which are commonly used, such as Digenes or others, persons. But even using the critical edition of Biederbeck means trying to be very careful whenever we just want to count the occurrences of an author, say, in Stephanus. Following very quickly to the second class of examples and narratives, Stephanus here provides interesting examples of a precocious reflection on some passages in Thucydides which are not very straightforward, or possibly use unclear expressions. I'm talking about passage 5a, or 5a, which Stephanus defines as the common tribunal court of Acarnanians and the Epilopians, Thucydides book 3. The relevant passage in Thucydides uses, of course, order joint sizes, but that these were the common tribunal court only resulted from a recent reflection on this passage and from our knowledge of the history of these regions. So these instances of narratives show an example of a reflection on the text of Thucydides, which is not so simple or obvious as it might look. Nicolai and Lesha, for instance, have underlined the absence of Alexandrinian dimensions on Thucydides and the relatively late birth of a scholarly reflection. So Stephanus, despite it being an epitome and despite the textual tradition, offers one of the earliest reflections of this text, despite the very short form of the lemma of his work. Then I'll talk about 5b now. Moving now to the final class of references, to use a broader word, the lemmata. As you can see in the passages 6a to e, they all refer to the same paragraph in Thucydides, a list of allies, of Athenian allies. All these populations are very rarely and poorly protected and offer a number of problems for each one of them. As you see, sometimes Alberti prefers using the version provided by the tituli of the technical edition of Thucydides. On other times, on other occasions, he just follows the manuscripts. I honestly could not understand why it varies so much for the same corpus, let's say, for the same minor corpus. But what is important to our discourse here on the Legata is that Stephanus' tradition is particularly good, even on these populations, on these single words, which have a very, very bad tradition, which have a very rarely and isolated tradition. A confirmation, possibly, of this attitude comes from the case 6G, Italia, where Stephanus apparently offers the wrong ethnic adjective for Thucydides, because as you can see, to ethnikon, Italiaeus, Thucydides a, but Italiaeus is not so straightforward in the tradition of Thucydides. As you can see, Alberti here chooses Stephanus over the tradition of Thucydides, because all the manuscripts rely towards the Aeneas or Aeneas, which is clearly wrong. This is the chapter on the earthquake of 464 CE. This is one of the 100 cities of the only touched by that event. On the other hand, another passage, another lemma in Stephanus, Theta 14, always under 6G, offers a curious theis, which is not clearly present in the passage which I mentioned, but possibly referred to Aeneas. So what happened here, in my view, is that Stephanus still had the real, the right, to put it in other words, version of Thucydides, but on one instance he followed it from close distance, on another instance he corrected it. Why was it so? It was because of the complex ways to which he reached Thucydides, as I will argue in the conclusion which are next to come, not to worry you too much. So, following on this complex comparison between these traditions, moving to 6F below, there are some instances where Stephanus was used to correct Thucydides, as I just said, despite the unanimous traditions of Thucydides. So all the manuscripts of Thucydides under 6F have aphrodisian or aphrodisian, a form with a sigma, which is possibly an ionicized form of an original Aphrodisia. This is a Laconian seal. And this is why Nice, for instance, claimed in the aforementioned article that we ought to correct here Thucydides because, of course, this is a Laconian form, we need to use a Laconian toponymy. But I believe that this is a bit too forced on the definition because we are not in a position to know whether Thucydides already provided an ionicized form of the toponymy, whereas Stephanus, coming from lexicographical tradition, particularly careful to these details, despite its apparent non-currence for dialects, may have corrected it. So Stephanus may provide a critical variant here. I already discussed that passage. So finally, there are in this final set of references some cases where we can decide which textual tradition to follow, and other cases where we cannot decide. An example of this, of the cases where we can decide, is the one which I mentioned. So 6F, we can decide that Stephanus is wrong, maybe, as the tradition of Thucydides is right. It can be decided, for instance, in accent of the treaty of Idomeni, so it is passage 1C on your handout. So as you can see, Idomene, Poli, Macedonia, B, and so on. So here the manuscripts of Stephanus and Idomene, and the manuscripts of Thucydides and Idomene. The problem is that, of course, we need to respect respective textual traditions, but the city is attested as a dominai on the inscriptions. So this is one of the instances where the core tradition on a factual toponym provided these variations, so this complexity. Another case, and then I will move to the conclusions, is the Airline Road, passage 6M, where the textual tradition of Thucydides is not so straightforward in all the passages where this road close to Eros in city is mentioned. As you can see, an editor of Thucydides may have some difficulties in putting the right accent. On the other hand, we cannot correct Stephanus because he has a Lorinet, because possibly is Thucydides, or in fact, this accent on the last syllable. So, moving to the 5 paintings which I introduced before. Despite this apparent confusion of a number of examples which I just wanted to select, and of course this is a paper which possibly is clearer on the written version, I believe that we can say that Thucydides receives a relatively fair treatment by Stephanus, and despite all the variances and the cases where Stephanus is a critical reader of Thucydides, Stephanus on the whole looks like a less dangerous intermediary than, say, Athenaius or learned authors of late antiquity who had a didactic but also philosophical agenda and purpose. Second point, Stephanus sheds light on the ways in which the textual tradition of Thucydides was followed in these years. In which form? I believe that Stephanus reached Thucydides in the direct tradition, of course, a learned person of these centuries must know more than the passage of Thucydides, if not by heart, certainly in its core sense. On the other hand, we cannot exclude a complex tree of an entire tradition. We have the ethnographical, geographical tradition, namely all those passages which I could not mention here, where Thucydides is mentioned in a par with Ephorus, with Strabo, with Pausanias, which means that there must have been a repertory which had made its way down to Stephanus, where Thucydides was considered possibly not as a geographer, as a source, an important source, on the name of the populations of minors, spots, of monasteries, of caves, which had not been of historical importance for centuries, so it was a precious resource. An important also case where Thucydides was used concerns the corpus of this story of the literary frankfurts, which is why I'm sorry I could not attend the papers of yesterday afternoon, because there is a number of passages where Thucydides is mentioned in the Apollodorus, and we're talking of course about another Apollodorus, but I know how complicated the textual tradition of Apollodorus is. So Thucydides is mentioned with the Apollodorus of the commentary, the category of ships, and there is a case, for instance, talking about Gahia. It's on the final page on the handle above the scholarship, where you can see from the example which I provided from the Scholia to Thucydides and the reference to Homer, that Thucydides was also used in these commentaries on Homer. These literary commentaries, these lexicographical commentaries, were also one of the means to which Thucydides made its way down to Stephanus. So, as you can see, my approach to this subject, the use of Thucydides, looks like the approach of Socrates. Namely, I don't think we have a clear one-way solution. It would be wonderful to say, whenever we have polis in Stephanus, this means X. Whenever we say, when Stephanus says also Thucydides, this means Y. But this has not been so clear in all the studies on fragmentary. We tend either to accept at face value critical attitude towards Stephanus, or just to say, well, Stephanus cannot be relied, it's just a very short form, why should we care? I believe, on the other hand, as a learned scholar, Stephanus is an important intermediary, and he seems to be particularly careful, despite the patronizing nature of his work having created like a tunnel through which only a very selected amount of knowledge has been preserved. So, any scholar of British philosophy needs, in my view, to scrutinize all the other appearances of the ex-author of Stephanus, to check the general ways in which the lost author is quoted. The case study of Thucydides proves that there is a large variety of trends, also depending on that Stephanus is generally a reliable source, if we care to concentrate on the details of his text or tradition. Thank you all for your attention.
Thank you very much, Salvatore, for this really rich panoramic perspective of how complicated our world is, and also for calling attention about our own responsibility as modern scholars and potential intermediary sources of the future. So evaluating all that really complicated material. I am certain this presentation will awake the curiosity of many of you and remarks that please.
Thank you very much. That was fascinating. Did I understand you correctly that you say that Stephanus has sometimes used Thucydides' text directly and sometimes has used it through another intermediary?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so he had access to it, but sometimes he used someone else who was already quoting.
Yes, and this is very curious because, as you can see on the right column of the handout, sometimes I added the reference to Herodianus.
Yeah, that's
So, because I detected a number of passages where the same reference to Thucydides is both in Herodianus and in Stephanus.
goes for previous too, I think something.
And even in doing so, this is a dangerous work. But Porcella was enlightened me once, because I had used Herodianus in the wrong way. The problem is that the critical edition of Herodianus often integrates Herodianus with Stephanus.
Yeah.
So you can read papers which claim that Herodianus before Stephanus had mentioned X or Y, but every time we need to check, and of course I know that the critical edition, even on the cases where Lenz doesn't integrate, is still, well, I'm not a pure philologist, but I think that a little more will be done in that important course.
Absolutely.
Thank you. It was very interesting. I'd like to see a lot of new threads. I will be not able to do everything. So yeah, I confirm that Lenz edition is very difficult to use. Lenz appreciate he made an operation which was now not basic, which shaped the text, which is not text. And a big part of his edition is made of Stephanus. So it's not logical to see the actual notation of Herodian are the nominal one and when basic notation. And I say something which is known. Stephanus is very interested in accents. So he's a Byzantine scholar. He's interested in the this fundamental lexicon. The accent is very important. So, for example, possible giving a lot of comparison in order to make clear which is the right accent of the word. Surely, when Stephanus tradition certainly corrupt, so we have nothing to do, but surely it is interesting in the good witness about this question. And I see that you rightly mentioned the important article by Guillaume about the and I wonder if the three different religion work identifies, which is very convincing. You speak always about Stephanus, but it's better to divide your lordship in these different roles. Each religion work has an culture. So we are dealing with the uses of different culture. For example, in the original Stephanus, we say that the text should be very pedestrian. It will be surely very issues for this explicit quotation, but so pedestrian because we mention explicitly the words, except word of the author. So I think that Thucydides were always mentioned in the so the starting point is always this one, and the reduction in 20% so is it depends on the different authors, different commissions.
Thank you for commenting. I really liked that article, even though I try not to be as mathematical and quantitative as I believe we can suggest some guidelines to work with studies. But, say, Biron mentions the importance of those 13 letters which we have on the Codex S, which are the only letters which are preserved in the entirety of the sentence, the final letters of the letter delta. And so, it mostly works on those letters. The problem is, as for instance, Neumann Hartmann underlined, is that a lemma is on its own a word, which means that if we have a lemma on a minor place, even in its entirety, it cannot be as long. For instance, I mentioned here the very long lemma on Noropos, which is only preserved in the epitome. So, I think that we need to reopen a series of questions, for instance. So, quantitative approach is useful, but there are some differences. For instance, these numbers, I said 66 of Thucydides. There are many differences, for instance, between the numbers of Honigman in his voice for the body of Stone Stephanus, Fraser in his very important chapters on Stephanus in Greek ethnic terminology, and the indices to the last volume of Bilderberg. So, I think that we all have to work here with Stephanus. For instance, Herodotus is another fantastic case. There is more than 100 entries. Actually, it would have been harder to present on here. So thank you for
what about the importance of epigraphical tradition for the construction of Thucydides text? Is it important for the Ethnica? Is there any reference for epigraphical tradition for the Ethnica?
First, I was talking about Idomeneo before. Papazoglou is a little well, not very updated nowadays on the Macedonian cities. Was the first to identify this work with the Idomene preserved on the inscriptions. I don't think that we can generally correct this text. What is interesting is how much these texts differ from inscriptions. Not to use another argument, but there is another case which I could not discuss here, which concerns Bolissos and Boliskos. So ancient lexicographers claim that Thucydides had used Boliskos. All the manuscripts of Thucydides have Bolissos. Now, the city nowadays is Bolissos. what is curious is that possibly we don't know whether it was Thucydides on his own direct tradition or a lexicographer, and used a minor variant on this topic. But this was so minor that it could not survive history either. So I think that one thing is writing about is writing a history of Polissos, of Idomenei, or the different. One thing is working on a critical edition, because we always have the usus scribendi in mind.